It's that time of the week again on World of Tanks console where we delve into the update news for the game, and of course you guys will be following along. I will make sure to leave timestamps to this video and all of the content that's within it so you can check through, flick through and find out the information that you're interested in. Now to begin, let's take a look at what Wargaming have introduced into this week's update. And of course, as usual, as with most of the updates nowadays, we have a new Cold War premium tank, and this is the M60 Action X Detente era Western Alliance medium tank, and this is a kind of, it's an interesting one. It looks very much, it kind of looks a little bit rubbish, to be honest, in terms of its model. It's very flat. There's loads of armor that's going to basically be really well steeply angled, which means that you're going to bounce a few rounds, and that means that you can probably be a fairly competitive tank within the Cold War game mode. You can see that there's a lot of spaced armor on this thing as well. You can see this upper lower plate, if that makes sense. This area here is kind of offset from the actual lower plate, and therefore you're probably going to be finding it very much a struggle to go through this lower plate, which also means that this tank could potentially be very, very good. We don't know how the actual tank's armor models are actually looking like within the game, because Wargaming don't release them until they're actually in the game, at which point we'll have to check through. But the key things with the M60 Action X, it is a premium, so you do get a 55% silver bonus, which is pretty nice. You've also got 72 kilometers an hour top speed, which is pretty comparable to a lot of the tanks kind of at the top tier. This is, of course, a medium tank, so the armor model, albeit might be very good in some places, you know, you're probably going to be expecting some areas of the turret and also some areas of that lower plate, especially that kind of lower section, to be even worse, and therefore you're going to be getting penned. What's the gun depression like? Well, it's 9 degrees, which is very nice. You've also got good hull traverse and turret traverse. Reverse speed's nice as well. Very good accuracy and aim time. Decent kind of penetration for Era 3. Not the most penetration that you'll be seeing, but it's nothing to really sniff at. And of course, 480 damage is very, very standard, if not on the low side for the Era 3 tanks within Cold War. So I don't think it's going to be kind of one of those that's going to be smacking you and you're feeling very much annoyed when you get hit by this thing. Now, in terms of actually buying the tank, if you really want to buy an Era 3 Cold War tank, then it's going to cost you minimum of 10,000 gold, which is, of course, very expensive. It's going to cost you, what, about £30 for one tank in console, which is, for me, probably not really worth it, but maybe to some of you collectors it might be. I don't quite know how powerful this tank is going to be, so we'll do a full review where we run through exactly how this tank plays later on in the week. And of course you can let me know if you've purchased this tank and you're watching it as of the release of the update, how this tank is faring in the game and whether or not it really is very good or if it's just mediocre. And of course, if you want to purchase the higher tier bundles, you can see them on screen right now. I'm not going to go into them. They basically just charge you a ton of gold for very little point, really, in my opinion. The next point in today's video is, of course, the Tanks Reforged event on a console, and that is because you now have a chance to get the T110E3 within the game, and that is because this thing will be able to get 25% more XP when you're grinding towards the T110E3, of course the tier 10 American tank destroyer that is the non-turreted version. Of course the T110E4 is the turreted version and probably the better of the two, although, you know, with this update maybe it won't be. And of course what you're seeing here, the T110E3 will be getting better camo essentially after firing, which means that invisibility at shot goes from 0.135 up to 0.225, which is always good. You're also seeing the dispersion during movement and also during rotation, so that means when you're actually going forward is the movement. Rotation obviously doesn't take a brain box, is when you're turning the tank. So both of these values combined, so if you're moving forward whilst also rotating, it's the worst it could possibly be. So yeah, that's kind of where these values come into play. So if you want to learn how to kind of be more accurate, then just rotate if you're trying to hit someone, or just go forward. But yeah, sometimes that doesn't always work. Now, What you see with the T110E3 is also the reverse speed going from 8 kilometers to 10 kilometers. So yeah, at least you can run away quicker now. I don't quite know whether that's going to affect the T110E3 all too much. And to be honest with you, I don't think that this was the problem with the T110E3, but maybe it's become slightly more powerful. I think for the most part, we'll have to test it out. And of course, I have actually unlocked the T110E3 for a video coming very, very soon. Now then, a tank that definitely didn't need any buffs is the T95, but Wargaming have gone ahead and buffed the invisibility of the T95 from 0.2 basically to 0.29, so you're getting about a 50% increase to its invisibility with the smaller gun. And you're getting about an increase of like nearly 2 on the 120mm, and then like basically double on the 155, which is of course the gun I would recommend on the T95 if you are playing it. Now, more importantly, probably the weakest of them all is the lower tier tanks within this, and that is the T28 and the T25AT, and they've both got buffs. Basically, the T28 has got buffs to the dispersion, much like the T110E3. It's also got a reduction in its reload, and this reduction in its reload is going to make this tank a little bit more playable, because effectively you got a 10% buff to your DPM now, so it's looking very, very nice for the T28 tank destroyer. And of course, I actually thought that this tank wasn't necessarily that bad, albeit it is a tank that I played a little while ago now. Anyway, the T25AT, probably the worst in the line, is getting some considerable buffs to its dispersion, to its reload, and basically during turret and movement, the dispersion will be better, which means you'll be more accurate when moving and rotating in this tank, which is similar to all of the rest of them. And of course, then you go down to the M36 Jackson, which will be getting buffs in a similar manner. We won't go through all of them because they're pretty much the same for all of the tanks. They're really just doing like a tech tree wide buff to certain characteristics. And then we're also seeing buffs to the T71 CMCD light tank, which is the tier 7 autoloader. Or no, this is actually not the autoloader version, because the T71 DAR or DA is the autoloader, while the T71 CMCD equips single fire, and they're basically giving it slightly more health and decreasing its reload, which means you'll get better damage output in this tank, which is always good. And then you see the M6 actually getting buffs for some reason. This tank is one of the better tier 6s in the game, and they're actually increasing its armor from 82 on the front to 140, which is massive. And you're also seeing reload buffs, you're also seeing dispersion buffs down, you're also seeing that for both the 3-inch guns on this tank, and also you're seeing buffs to the mantlet armor as well on the second turret. So this tank is definitely going to be one I may have to do a video on, because I think this is super underrated and a really, really great heavy tank down at tier 6, of course. Now then, what else do we have? Well, we have the American tier 6 M4A3E8 Sherman medium tank, and that is the tier 6 kind of easy 8 or the jumbo. This is effectively going to get some buffs to its health, buffs to its view range, buffs to its accuracy. It's going to be getting all of that on all of the guns essentially, and also better terrain resistances as well when you're on medium terrain and soft terrain, which is always good as well. Now then, premium tanks wise, you'll be getting buffs to the MTLS and the Blitzen. So yeah, I don't know why they've done that, but okay. These tanks were pretty broken, if I can remember rightly, down at tier 4. Then you've got the T92 light tank and the Falcon T92, both the same, getting a top speed buff all the way up to from 60 to 68, which makes them more comparable, and a reload buff from 4.3 seconds to 4.1, so a nice 5% damage buff as well. And then you're also seeing the usual, which is the 50% discount between tiers 3 and tiers 6, and a 30% discount between tiers 7 and tiers 10, which is always one of my favourite things about the on-track events, just picking up a load of tanks that I kind of want to play again, or at least do videos on. And of course you can pick them up as well with the decent kind of rates at which you can pick them up. Now then, that's not it for today's video. We've also got some information regarding last week's operations and challenges and stuff like that. where we had the German Leopard Cold War tech tree. And of course, if you've played them, let me know what you think of these tanks. Are they actually that good? Are they really kind of a next level gameplay in the Cold War era? If you've managed to actually grind through, do you enjoy them? Do you think they're pretty trash? Of course, let me know in the comment section down below. And of course, just to highlight that the Steel Beast season is coming to somewhat of a close. There's still a little bit of time left before the season ends, but the new season will be coming eventually. And of course, we will keep you updated by making sure to do videos on every single season release. And of course, we have the Leopard 2AV, one of the tanks that I reviewed last week, which was pretty mediocre. I don't think there's anything really that broken. And of course, we had the premium bonus for 50% extra XP and silver on every battle you play in the Sturm Tiger, Panhard EBR 105 and the WZ 1321, which will all be getting continued until I think it's 2 weeks, so you've got another week-long event on this. And of course, the trade-in event is still open and the T23 E3 challenge continues. We've also got contracts for the Roundabout and the Spyglass. The Spyglass is one of my favourite mercenary tanks. It's a tier 6 auto-loading light tank that is really, really fun to play. Probably not that overpowered, but very, very good. You definitely need premium ammunition in this thing. It's like a Chaffee with an AMX turret. Yeah, quite interesting. And then we have the tanks reforged, select tanks, and on track to the ET123 like we talked about. And there's also improvements to the, well, not improvements, but discounts on your flags, emblems, inscriptions, and camo, whether that's temporary or permanent. So you'll be getting reductions in the amount of silver or gold if you want to purchase them. And then we have free XP bonus, where you can effectively get like 50% more free XP when you convert with your gold, which I wouldn't really ever recommend, but you know, grinding through stock tanks can be a little bit of a pain, so I don't blame you all for doing that sometimes, because yeah, playing through stock Centurion 1 was not fun at all. And then of course, with the tanks available for free XP, it's coming out this week as well, where we can get the Iron Rain Borsig, which is amazing, the Vanguard, the tank, the Dreadnought, the Paladin, the Stark STRV S1, and of course my top picks for this week in terms of those tanks is the Dreadnought and the Iron Rain Borsig. The Vanguard is really, really fun as well, so yeah, those are kind of the 3 tanks I would recommend you get first if you are going to spend some money on that. But yeah, make up your own mind as to whether or not it's actually worth spending like £20 on one tank in a game. So yeah, let me know your thoughts. And String Theory will be arriving as of the recording, well, not as of the recording of this video, but when you get onto the update tomorrow, the String Theory will be live and you'll be able to get up to 5 times XP if you can string together 5 wins in a row. Obviously, not that many people can continuously string 5 wins in a row. But if you manage to, for example, get 2 wins in a row, you will get 2 times XP. If you get 3 wins in a row, you get 3 times XP, all the way up to 5 wins in a row. After that, it becomes just continually getting 5 times XP, even if you were to get like 170 wins in a row, which of course is never really going to happen, at least for 99.9999% of players in World of Tanks, because artillery. Anyway, talking about artillery, we've also got RT 2.0 testing, where Wargaming have given a little detail. We now have a kind of thing where they're going to be looking to reduce the alpha, increase the rate of fire, but more easily spotted. So I don't know how this more easily spotted is going to be kind of done, whether it's just because the camo on them is going to get reduced significantly, or maybe they're going to increase like the traces of the rounds from the artillery so people know where they are much easier. I don't know. Hopefully they don't buff the rate of fire too much, but definitely the less alpha is a thumbs up from me. No one really wants to get one shot, that's for sure. So if you are interested in playing artillery before they get nerfed, then I'd do it right now, because it's probably never going to be able to deal as much damage as it currently does. Of course, the T92 HE rounds are the best ones for that if you're interested. And the tanks reforged going on vacation in June, so there will be no tanks reforged now for a little bit of a time. And there will be a bi-monthly program, I think. So yeah, it'd be interesting to see what's actually going to go on with the tanks reforged, if they continue it or not after that, but we'll see. Of course, then there's the multi-turret Oni which will be interesting. And then there's the prepare your map questions, because there will be a lead game designer on the next week's stream. If you're interested in joining in with that, then of course check it out on twitch.tv/whatconsole, where you can actually see that information and stuff like that. There's also some weekly shout-outs. I'm not going to go through them all, as with every kind of every week. You can just pause the screen and see if you're on the list. But yeah, a few people getting over 100,000 battles in the game and all the way up to 130,000. So yeah, mad. But other than that, we also have the pictures for the new tank coming into the game. This is, of course, the skinned version of the premium tank that we'll be seeing, the M60 Action X. And of course, this is kind of what else there's coming as well, kind of skins and concepts and all of that sort of stuff within World of Tanks console. And of course, if you did enjoy this video, make sure to like it, subscribe, let me know what you think about all of these updates and changes to the game. And of course, I really hope you join me in some more videos coming soon. Thank you very much, and I hope you have a fantastic rest of your week. Goodbye.